Hey, monkey boy. This time I can prove the Israelites weren't black using ChatGPT. Ha!
So that's what we're doing now? Using AI?
What was that? I couldn't hear you over that smoke alarm chirp you people can't hear. Say that again?
Hilarious and original.
Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original. Hilarious and original.
I said, is that what we're doing now? Using AI to prove who the Israelites are?
That's exactly what we're doing, and I'll show you, boy.
Oh, brother.
2 hours later.
Your room still stinks.
Look at how easily ChatGPT debunks everything you chimps have to say. Ha! You was not kings, and you was not Israelites.
If we're going to use AI, then let's at least use an AI that's trained on the Bible without the Masoretic mistranslations or any agendas and actually tells us the truth.
Liar, there's no such thing.
I'll show you. Let's use Israelite Bot. Go to IsraeliteBot.com and ask the same thing.
Fine, but I bet it'll say the same thing as ChatGPT. No! No!
You see? I told you.
No!
And it shows biblical proof.
No! This is preposterous. I hate this website. It's all wrong.
Stop crying.
Your website sucks.
The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel. You're a Gentile grafted into the house. Under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, I welcome you this morning. I welcome you this morning while I'm still able to at least get on, at least have lights on and internet connection, something just to be able to get my voice on out there. Because when you realize how powerful your voice is, and what they try to do to turn off your voice, you understand that you literally are shaping the whole world. And it's hard for us to really understand that. It's hard for us to navigate it, especially when the majority of our people have not really been outside of the United States. And let me tell you why. Because I think the best example and the clearest example has been over the last course of these weeks. When number one, you had Ibrahim Traore earlier this year, and it wasn't just earlier this year, it was last year. I'm going to tell you this. Last year, and I still have the agenda from ADDI, as Garth and I had went over to Burkina Faso, still had the agenda. Last year, Brother Garth and I went out with a mission. And that mission was to open up work by making the first steps in the contacts of the contracts to support economic development of critical infrastructure in Burkina Faso. The invitation that Dr. Ericana had for me to go on behalf of ADDI to represent Q2UA, that wasn't made lightly. And I realized it wasn't made lightly because you have to have a little bit of ferociousness and a little bit of craziness too. I just had to ask the Most High to help me to balance out the scales. Excuse me. So, as I have continued to keep my voice on out there, I was a little discouraged because I came back. We had a plan to engage. That plan kind of got thwarted just a little bit because of some misunderstandings. See, the whole situation on the containers, our plan was to have the government of Burkina Faso come through with supporting the container effort. We were asking them, hey, help us to help you get these containers over to you. That was the plan. At least that was my plan. My plan was I was trying to facilitate something over to the government of Burkina Faso. Because why? Because it wouldn't have hurt that much. It wouldn't have caused a personal hurt. Everything that goes on there's a pain associated with it. Nobody wants to put themselves on out there and be sliced and diced by how people think, how people feel, how people this, how people that. Even within our own community. There's always a personal cost. What I wanted to do was to limit my personal cost. Okay, Father, thank you. We can get the government of Burkina Faso to get these containers, and my personal cost is limited. Because here's the thing, not everybody in the community wants to see shipping containers come from our community over to Burkina Faso, over to the continent. Now, that sentiment has obviously changed over the last 3.5 months because people realize now that America isn't the same America that it used to be. People have realized that as of April 2nd, when the door got left open to, economically destroy this place, countries ran into the door. One country being China. And now it's just really funny to see the lies that have been stated. Because why? Because the lies aren't for us. We already know how this place is. The lies aren't for us. The lies are for them. Because remember, they always have to be on the top. Remember, there's not a personal cost that they have to do for anything. That's Zechariah 11:5 in full effect. And that's also Jeremiah 16:19. In full motion. This is also Jeremiah 50:51. We would have healed Babylon, but she refused to be healed. We would have had the healing balm. Would have been that healing balm, our voice. What would that voice have done to rally support? What would that support have done to enrich them? And then what would that have done? That would have been a cost to us because why? Because they lived deliciously on the saints. My son was talking to me. He said, Dad, I want to see the vampires or the sinners movie with you. So we have a plan on going this upcoming weekend. He said, Dad, this was a really good movie. I guess he had already kind of seen it with his friends, but he was going to see it with me. So I didn't have to go to the movie theater alone. He said, Dad, they were really trying to push a message there that you kind of touched on, but they were trying to touch on it. However, they use a lot of witchcraft. I said, yeah, they did. And that's just witchcraft is literally corrupted power. unauthorized power, trying to steal from the power source. But in the end, when you steal from the power source that's not yours to begin with, what ends up happening is you get thrown down. That has always been the theme of the Bible. That's been the theme of the word. That's been the theme of man. And that's always been the theme of every single nation that has held us in captivity. It was just that they were going to utilize the power source a lot longer because they were given more time, plain and simple. But the end of the story was always going to be the end of the story, no matter how much they were going to try to limit us, no matter how much they were going to try to throw us in prison, put us in jail, delete us, no matter what. The question of enduring to the end really means to endure to the end, because when we understand that the personal costs can lead to our own deletion, the question is, who's going to pay the cost? Who's going to pay the cost to stand up for truth, to stand up for justice, to talk to our people? Who's going to pay the cost to let our people know what's happening, what's going on, when these wars aren't mentioned, when these wars are now silent, when they try to tell you, well, there's an issue with the Gulf of America. Now they're trying to do the Arabian Gulf. I've always called it Persian Gulf. They did a dry run on that. I saw somebody talking about that the other day. I forgot which channel. That they're changing the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Gulf. And I'm kind of like, well, they're a little late because they tried to do that back in the last time in 45's day. And maybe they just paid attention in 47's day. I remember when I was working within the Central Command AOR, area of responsibility, they changed it from the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Gulf. And that was because there was always active provocations that was happening. There was always an assassination here. There was always a bombing there. There was always some sort of a covert throw rocks, right, with clean hands. Throw rocks and then hide hands. And now everybody knows who's throwing the rock, and everybody knows where the rock is coming from. So that game doesn't work anymore. And if you notice, they know that that game does not work anymore. It was always going to be a played out game. And guess what? You want to know why the game did not work anymore? Because I'm going to tell you this. We got tired of playing the game. As a people, let's just call it what it is. We had been tired of playing the game, and we got tired of playing that game 5 years ago. May of 2020. When you have an event that really rocked the world, and that was George Floyd. And you had to understand they tried to play that off. Oh, well, it was just another black man that had all this stuff. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You know how many black people we kill anyway? Why does this even matter? Because I'm going to tell you the reason why it mattered. It mattered because they saw that black man as themselves. They saw the imagery of that black man as themselves. They saw the imagery of that black man with a knee on his neck, choking to death as themselves. They saw and they realized that they were being choked out, that they were being restrained, that they were being contained, and they were not living their fullest. Because why? Because the enemy comes to what? Kill, steal, and destroy. They had realized the enemy, and they realized, let's just face it, the kingdom of Hasatan. Because how can you not claim that you are the embodiment of the kingdom of Hasatan if that is literally what you do throughout the whole earth? And understand the image that was broken and the image that's broken now, and now understand you now have jets. They said as many as three fighter jets that have been destroyed. Now, do you think that a nation who's bent on image and imagery would actually tell you the truth? No. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to say everything is fine, everything is awesome. They're going to tell you instead of 30 dolls, you only have 3 dolls for Christmas. What does that imply? To me, if I'm doing the math correctly based off of what was said, funny the total was 33, but that's another story. To me, I'm going to take that as a 90% drop. In today's current value. So if I was a logical person analyzing every single word from a head of state that is now trying to navigate chaos that was self created, maybe, just maybe, I would be doing a little bit of planning of a drop of 90% in the value of at least the dollar and maybe at least commerce. Maybe that should be enough. I'm only one person that can be cut off from these YouTube streets at any time, that can be cut off from just the basic livelihood at any time. My life hangs in the balance. I have endured the personal cost of coming up here every single day, just about Monday through Friday. I've only, for the last 2, 3 weeks, taken off Monday and Friday just so I could rest my voice. And because I don't know what's going on in this season, I am just constantly fighting something. But that's what happens when you're in middle school, in a place where that's a not so good section, a not so good area. And, a lot of people become sick. And now I understand why. I'm not claiming it, but I do know. I only got a couple weeks left. And I thank the Most High that as I have finished up this assignment, I understood the assignment, and I thank the Most High for the assignment, because in the next season, being able to simply put together the words of we need to do. And you want to know what? I know that drives people crazy. See, 5, 6 months ago, being able to get almost 500 people on the live stream, people like to talk. But boy, oh boy, people hated the action, because the action meant that would be a personal cost to them. I like what you're saying. It sound good. Oh, wait a second. You mean that there's something that's going to be required of me? No. You mean I'd actually have to do something? No, I'm just here to be entertained. I like the jokes. I like the laughing. I like the entertainment. And now, if you realize it, nobody's really laughing anymore, because people are understanding that this place is under attack. And now you'll have a ship that's debarking, that is 145% tariffs, that gets passed down to consumers. That's not a game anymore. That's not funny anymore. That's a situation that people now have to do. They have to plan. And now people have to realize that it's going to be a lot harder. Because why? Because they were trying to tell you that they want to box you in. I was talking to some of my colleagues and friends of mine that are Ghanaian. They will be the ones to help situate this medical shipping container when it arrives on the continent. And they all knew what the game plan was. Amazing that when Africa starts to rise, amazing that when these nations realize that they become more powerful when they're able to, I don't know, keep their stuff. Amazing how these nations then have all of these security issues. Yes, in Ghana. It's no longer safe because there's a Western nation that is utilizing, or I would say a Western backed organization that is then being used to provide terroristic operations on a country or region, and then they could say, well, it's not safe. Gee, I don't know. Doesn't that kind of remind us of the 70s and 80s with the CIA dropping guns and, drugs in black communities? Boy. I guess they figured that was a good test case because that run lasted for a good, what, 40, 50 years. It just recently slowed down because black folks started to realize, if they start to realize that, going to protest literally meant easy blood on the streets for us. Now you're starting to realize black folks are understanding that all of these government informants and agents and everything else that's been used to destroy our community. And now the gangs have been having all these reconciliations and everything else. Why? Because they realize that they've been played. It takes us to destroy us. So imagine what that will be when we are able to understand how to work together to uplift us. What happens when we're no longer destroying us? Well, let me tell you, they're actively trying to not see that day come. I'm going to tell you this. What we have accomplished in over the last 30 some days, I have to kind of give um, 47 credit because it truly was a liberation day for black folks. It was a liberation day for us to understand that we have to stand up and that we have to speak out and that we have to move as a group. Being able to stand up and speak out, being able to raise these funds. To be able to ship a medical shipping container to its final destination of Burkina Faso has been nothing short of amazing. A channel that is shadow banned, a channel that is constantly getting strikes and other things against it. Yeah, I get all these copyright things, I get all these hate things from YT. But you want to know what I did? I just kept moving and I kept obeying the Most High and allowed Him to do His thing through His people. That's it. And the more I spoke up, do you understand? The more that these y'all realize the Most High was literally shaking the heavens. Y'all realize that every single stronghold that this place used to have was just being torn down. the facade was crumbling all around. I had said this multiple times on this channel. I said the U.S. is going to fight against the Houthis. And they're going to end up losing. The Houthis made it very plain and simple of who they were going to target. And they were going to target that Eastern Mediterranean nations shipping and those that were supplying the ships under different false flags and other narratives, which goes on to tell me that either the Houthis have a very good intelligence apparatus, or it's just that the Houthis have been utilizing Iranian intelligence to target ships. And I would argue the latter, that the Houthis have used Iranian intelligence to target ships. But I also believe that the Houthis, in my personal opinion, have been able to acquire technology, and not just acquire technology, but have refined their own capabilities to do things on their own. Which, when you saw that everything had first started in what, October of 2023? It was October, November 2023 when they entered the fight. Their long range drones, their long range missiles, it kept creeping up a couple 200 kilometers more. Then they went to 150 kilometers. Then they went to 100. They kept getting closer and closer to their targets. They kept refining their capabilities. And then in doing so, they hit their targets, and they have been hitting their targets. Now, in terms of the targeting and where they are able to find those targets, oh, yeah, to me, that's definitely Iranian. I'll agree on that one. That's Iran that's backing them up. But now you have something that's even more suspicious going on with Pakistan and India, going on with the BRICS nation, and them trying to say that the BRICS nation, the opposition to India is Pakistan, and it's backed by China. But China's part of BRICS. That doesn't make sense. Let me tell you a little bit about Pakistan, because I helped in my time to be a co-Pakistani co pro excuse me co-coalition desk engagement officer to Pakistan. I worked with the Pakistanis for over 6 years total. Working in the CENTCOM AOR. I've worked a CENTCOM AOR, whether as Marset, CENTCOM, or SOCCENT. 15 years. Let me tell you about Pakistan that people may not know. Pakistan is totally and wholly supported by the United States. Pakistan has been given hundreds of billions of dollars. I didn't stutter. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Pakistan is kind of a gun for hire. After all, remember, it was Pakistan where Osama bin Laden was found. So now they're having South Asia fight. Because why? Because they don't get it. The Pakistanis and the Indians don't get it. It's an easy fight to manipulate people. Now, don't get it twisted. They're very nice people, but understand they're always chasing money. And they don't believe in the value of their worth, even though they're very smart people. But there's something that was just, to me, always fundamentally off. Because their excuse is, well, that is just the way the world works. Aren't you kind of contributing to that problem? If they don't know that they're contributing to the problem, they actually become the problem. And that has now been the problem. Because they can be moved and manipulated to and fro. Understand, a lot of these countries that you would think are actually smart and that they are ruled by somewhat smart people actually are not. And we're getting that personally shown to us on a daily level. The problem that we have seen is that people are manipulated by their greed. And now they're realizing that that is going, and that has always been the driving force into this war, because there's a lot of wars. You may not even realize that you're in a war. This is a trade war. You're paying on more goods. China's shutting down their whole economy. Is it their economy, or is it their sector to the United States? Well, we call it the sector, but it's an economy because it's our economy, but it's their economy that services our economy, and that's bad. Understand the games and the wordplay. It's always a game. It's always a wordplay. It's always something. Because the reality is that these wars are going to flare up more and more because they're losing their grip. They're losing control. But here's the great thing about this. The Most High has always given us the ability to move forward, even as things are looking crazy, feeling crazy, sounding crazy. We're not to be afraid of these wars. We're not to be afraid of these conflicts that's arising. We're not to be afraid of any of these trade issues that's going on, because he always makes a way. But in making a way, we have to be able to respond. Again, family, I thank you for your support of this medical container. I will have some announcements here in the next couple of days. But family, we are in need to reach around our $40,000 mark. As I have been speaking to the supplier, he's been updating me regarding the ability to get this container out by the end of this month. The reality is that we need to raise right now. Hallelujah, funds have been coming in, but we need to raise, and this is kind of the latest and greatest. We're now between about, I would say, 12 to 15,000. 12 to 15,000 that is still left to raise. I thank you for those that have been supporting the neodiplomacy.com, because those proceeds are going towards the medical shipping container. See, it's one thing about writing a book. It's one thing about talking about neo-diplomacy. It's one thing about doing courses. When this is the biggest neo-diplomatic effort and engagement that can be seen and witnessed real time. Family, I have been busy getting that on out there. Sister Shar is busy getting the constitutional crisis considerations town hall together. And that's for May 18th. Hopefully, I'll have some news, or I'll have an update by the end of this week. But family, we're still pushing, and we still have to push. Can you imagine Ghana being placed on a travel advisory? Diplomatic efforts lead to war, but they don't want to do war the same way. You know how they do war? They do war through assassination attempts. They do war through coups. They do war through economic destabilization efforts. See, the crazy thing is, wars aren't mentioned because people don't even realize that they're actually wars. Yeah, there's even a war against us, and that's been raging for hundreds of years. We just started to realize over the last course of years that that war had been declared on us back in 1453 under the Dum Diverses. That's crazy, isn't it? You didn't even realize that you were a prisoner of war. Don't feel bad because I didn't realize that until a couple years ago myself. I didn't even realize the declaration. Every war has a declaration. Somebody has to declare it. But now that we know, once you know better, you can do better. So, family, before I go, I'm going to make my final appeal. This is a personal appeal. To support this channel. If you'd like to support this channel, I definitely appreciate it. With everything that I've done, yes, I use my voice on these efforts. I truly do. But your support via Cash App or PayPal, that helps to pay my bills. Unfortunately, I am not in the position of working in a six-figure job that I had once had for a couple of years. I do have to come on and I do ask for your support. And then I say, thank you, Father. Hallelujah. Let those that you put on their heart support. For others, if they can't support, keep me in prayer. So I do definitely appreciate your support. It helps me to function because I do not make money. I don't make personal funds off of the container. All the proceeds of these classes and these books have gone over to Q2UA or has maintained just my basic website so people can access the courses. I thank you all for your alms. To put it bluntly. One thing I used to do is I used to complain to the Most High, Father, why? Why? But then I had to realize, and the Most High told me something. I'm doing His work. So I'm not going to be ashamed when I ask for your help in times of help. Because when the Most High puts it on the minds of His people to do, He does it. So, family, thank you for your support for all of these endeavors because that's what I do. You're supporting me to really support you. And this is weird because honestly, this is something that we've never done before. Because honestly, we just support our enemies to destroy us. For real, I mean, we do. So this is a very novel concept in the grand scheme of things. So I appreciate your support. I appreciate your donations to this channel, to this effort, to this ministry, whatever you want to call it. If you are able to continue to mention the medical supply container, the Most High is literally moving mountains for us. And hopefully, if not this week, maybe next week, I can give an update on things. So thank you again, family, because, this isn't just for entertainment purposes. This is because we really have a war that we're fighting, and they have kept us economically disenfranchised in this war. That's how they fight us. If I went to just go trash you all and just shouted MAGA to the roof, and I wouldn't be having this problem. My channel would be ultra promoted. But what good is that? So that's all I have. That's my appeal, family. You can sign up for the Constitution Town Hall. That is over at neodiplomacy.com. I have the links in the descriptions. I have the links in the chat. All the proceeds, they go to the medical shipping container. That's it. That's why I ask. So this is the big push, and we can't slow down on this. We can't slow up on this now. We cannot slow up on it now. And I need to get up on out of here because I got to get some things done. But hopefully, most time willing, I'll be able to give you all some good, a great update as I'm working through some things today. So, with that said, most high willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And with that, family, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.